We felt like last year we could have won those 2 games, really, to be honest with you. We had some mishaps there at the end, and they can't happen when you're playing a great team.
Big challenge again. They've got a league quarterback that I think he's leading the league in pass percentage, like 77% or something. I mean, he's Russell Wilson. Makes plays. We know that. We played against him a lot, and he's an elite quarterback.
Those Rams coming off a tough loss on Sunday against the Bucs, and Steve Wyche has more on what might come of that. First, though, Omar Ruiz is with the Seahawks in Renton, whereas Wade Phillips just pointed out, Russell Wilson is having a somewhat quiet, very good year.
According to Pete Carroll, it's the best start ever for Russell Wilson. The numbers certainly back it up. You heard Wade Phillips say Wilson is on pace for the second highest completion percentage in NFL history. He's putting up more yards than ever, 8 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, has the highest passer rating of any quarterback in the league, not named Patrick Mahomes. And as good as all of that has been, his leadership as important as ever. After Chris Carson struggled, fumbling in each of the first 3 games of the season, Wilson reminded him last week that even the great Walter Payton had fumble issues early in his career. Carson responded by having the best game of his season, 145 total yards, including 104 on the ground. Wilson also saying he spent a little extra time with tight end Will Dissly. Dissly, of course, was returning to Arizona, where he suffered a season-ending knee injury the year before. Dissly responded by having a career-high 7 catches. So the relentless positivity we've always seen from Wilson certainly having a tangible effect during this first quarter of the season.
Well, Omar, yes, we know Russell Wilson is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, but probably his biggest nemesis in the league is Rams defensive tackle Aaron Donald, now the reigning Defensive Player of the Year. Just 10 tackles and 1 sack so far this season. But last year in 2 games, both Rams victories, he sacked Wilson 3.5 times, hurried him 6 times. And in his career, there is not a quarterback that Aaron Donald has sacked more than Russell Wilson. 10.5 times. Now, defensive coordinator Wade Phillips said that it's Donald's speed, the ability to get through double teams, get to Wilson, and tackle him in the open field. That is one of his greatest strengths. Now, on the opposite side of the ball, Rams running back Todd Gurley, a lot of conversation with him just getting 5 carries in Sunday's loss to Tampa Bay. Nobody, including Seahawks head coach Pete Carroll, is expecting that few of touches. But look at another stat line. Gurley was targeted 11 times in the passing game, with the Rams falling behind 21-0 early. Sean McVay said he threw it to try to get Gurley involved, but the thinking here is that they will be much more committed to the run game. Lindsay?
More Gurley music to the ears of a lot of football fans, Steve, including one of the guys that's sitting with Scott right now.
Yeah, these guys would be Sean O'Hara, D'Angelo Hall. Let's chop this up on a Thursday night football action. You just heard Steve Wyche say that Sean McVay says he needs to be more dedicated to the run. You're +1 on that.
Absolutely. Sean has to protect Jared Goff. And by protecting Jared Goff, you can't let him sit there and drop back 68 times in a football game. That's a lot. And so you have to run the football, especially when you have a dynamic runner like Todd Gurley. For him to only run the ball 5 times is an insult. And I know I've talked to people who've talked directly to him, and he's a little mad. He wants the football.
Todd
Gurley is mad. He feels he's healthy. He feels he's ready to go, and he's not getting the opportunity to run the football. So much of what the Rams do downfield is off the run game. It's off of play action. And so you have to establish the run game. Even if you're down sometimes, you still have to run that football just so that defense has a threat of run, and those D linemen aren't just teeing off on the offensive lineman.
I assume the offensive lineman agrees with this.
Yeah, throwing the ball 68 times, it becomes a track meet, but your offensive line's not happy. This Rams offense is built on rhythm. It's built on spacing. It's that zone running scheme with the play-action pass like you're talking about, and it's always run through Todd Gurley. You want to mix in Malcolm Brown, that's fine, but I feel like everybody's making a big deal about Todd Gurley and saying, well, I don't know if he's healthy. Well, I saw a run from Todd Gurley that looked just like Todd Gurley of old, and it's this one right here where he trucked this safety on the way to this touchdown. You mentioned he only had 5 carries in this game for 16 yards, but that run right there showed me that TG3, he can still bring the wood. And, it looked like the zone scheme that we saw from last year, the spacing. finishing the run right there. I mean, that's running through.
Contact at about the 5.5 yard
A powerful
line.
tackler right there. So I see that and I say, man, give me more of that. Now, the one way you get that is to not be down 21-0 going into the second quarter.
Yeah, down 21-0. They ended up giving up 55 points in the loss at home against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who had never scored over 50 in their franchise's history. So what do they need to tighten up on the defensive side of the football?
Yeah, well, certainly they need to tackle better and really not give up the big plays. That's what I saw. I mean, it wasn't just Mike Evans. It was Chris Godwin. Mike Evans certainly ran past Marcus Peters on the one time they played man. But the big plays, I mean, it crushed them. They couldn't get any pressure as well. But there was one play in particular that really bothered me, and it was at the end of the game. This team had fought and clawed back to get into this game, and down 5 points. This play right here, it's 4.5 minutes to go in the game. Look at this right here. All right, you got to keep Talib. You got the safety. You got 3 guys right there to make the tackle, and nobody does. The linebacker misses. I counted 5 broken tackles on this play. They still can't get him down, even with the sideline right there. And this is 4-minute defense right here. It just seemed like they didn't have the sense of urgency. Even with 4 minutes to go in the game, they fought back in. They were down 5. If they got to stop right there, help them to a field goal, who knows? Maybe they get a chance to score twice.
Yeah, from the start of that game, it looked as though the Bucs came out to battle in a football game, and it felt like the Rams just, hey, we're going to come here and play a game. They're going to lay down for us. And you could just kind of tell from the start of that game, the Buccaneers, Bruce Arians, a credit to him, he had those guys ready to play because they came out and they hit the Rams in the mouth.
Well, with all due respect, the San Francisco 49ers are undefeated. They were coming off the bye. They're at the top of the division standings, but this one is still a great divisional matchup. 5 of the last 6 NFC West titles were one of these two teams.
I think it might be loud up there, too.
It's going to be loud.
On the street.
Week
They're serving
5
Bud Light.
kicks off Thursday night football. 3-1 Rams, 3-1 Seahawks, 8 o'clock Eastern on Fox.
As for Sunday's games, there are 10 in the early slate, including one in London where the Raiders arrived yesterday and visited a military base today, Royal Air Force Base Mildenhall. Taking in the sights for now before facing the Bears on Sunday and a certain pass rusher with which they are very familiar.
You can't play this game with too much emotion, man. Ultimately, I try to stay focused on the task at hand, understanding the situation, understanding what they're going to be thinking I feel. But ultimately, I'm going to go out there and do what I do, and that's play football and love the game that I play.
So there might be feelings deep in your heart that you just can't let get to the surface? Is that what
Absolutely. There's feelings that you suppress, but also it's no big deal to me, man. I'm here. I love the Bears, and we're going to go out and try to get this win.
Bengals unable to get a win last night against the Steelers. Also lost their leading receiver in that game. John Ross expected to miss multiple games with that shoulder injury that forced him out in the fourth quarter. According to Mike Garafolo, he could be out for a month or so. Panthers defensive tackle K'Wan Short going to be out a lot longer than that. He's been placed on season-ending injured reserve today with a partially torn rotator cuff from week 2. There are a few teams getting players back this week. And for more on that, here's Mike Garafolo.
Returning to a playing field near you this weekend are a bunch of veterans and key players that could really help teams that could use them right now. We'll start with Golden Tate and the Giants. They're without Saquon Barkley. Tate has been known to help offenses that need some short stuff to complement their running game. Now, Wayne Gallman's performance the other day notwithstanding, the Giants could use that right now in Barkley's absence. So they are glad to get Tate back. And even when Barkley does come back, that's another element to offset him. Taylor Lewan, he'll be back for the Tennessee Titans, who have to make a decision for the long term on Marcus Mariota. They don't want to do that without seeing him with the full complement of blockers in front of him. Taylor Lewan, a key player and also a leader in that locker room. Tennessee glad to have him back. Antonio Callaway, he's a player that can get open quickly, and that's something that the Cleveland Browns thought they needed even before last weekend's game against the Baltimore Ravens, because Baker Mayfield wasn't able to see things as quickly, was bailing from the pocket. They truly felt at that point that Callaway coming back could help in that department. Even with that win over Baltimore, they are welcoming him back with open arms. Mo Claiborne and the Kansas City Chiefs, a team that needed cornerback help before they signed him back in the summer. So they were happy to get him, even though they knew they weren't going to have him for the first quarter of the season. This team puts up a lot of points, but they've got to slow other offenses down as well. They believe Claiborne will help in that department. And do the Patriots really need anything? I mean, we had this conversation a couple of weeks ago with Antonio Brown. But it's still good to have a veteran presence like Ben Watson back, a guy who would love to cap his career with a championship ring.
Looking back at week 4 now, we've got some Pepsi Rookie of the Week nominees, starting with two-time winner Gardner Minshew, who led his team back from a 14-point deficit on the road and pick up win number 2 for the Jags. A.J. Brown, who scored 2 touchdowns for the Titans. Josh Jacobs, who put up 108 scrimmage yards for the Raiders. Giants linebacker Ryan Connolly, who had 5 tackles, 1 sack, and a pick. And Buck